So I'm cycling home after the meeting at the Kremenchuk Center, talking about the various topics, including traveling, my latest trip from Stri to near Ivano-Frankivsk and then Ribopilia a few days later. And I wanted to make a few comments earlier already about the war, so my predictions are more or less correct of what's been happening with Russia. I thought that Crimea could have been retaken in 2023, but it didn't happen because of insufficient support by Western Europe and the USA. These idiots were also stupid from the start, and how they manipulated themselves. I'm not going to say Putin manipulated them, because Putin says exactly what he wants, and he's a really simple man. He's a moron. He's not able to manipulate. As I mentioned with that psychiatrist who interviewed Kid Boga, he asked Kid Boga, do you know who else can manipulate people? I knew immediately that he meant himself, but Kid Boga didn't realize this. And of course I said to myself, no, he can't manipulate anyone. I thought, oh no, he's going to say he can manipulate people, but he can't, because he does not have that ability, because he's a psychopath or close to a psychopath. He does not have the emotional intelligence. And that is a real thing. It's actually also important in things like reasoning. It may seem strange, but I will explain all that in my project. So actual intelligence is not just coupled to IQ, but also emotional intelligence. If you have one of them, then you're not intelligent. If you have both, then only then you are really intelligent. So this psychiatrist said that he can manipulate people, and I commented about that in a video, but also on my website and in a talk in the Kremenchuk Center. He cannot manipulate people. People manipulate themselves. They want to believe certain things, for example. It's a very strong motivating factor in people. Blue lights, yeah, that's not illegal. Jesus. So what happens in 2023, 2023, 2 or 3, Putin talked about nuclear weapons, blah blah blah. These idiots don't understand psychopaths in the West, but of course a big problem. In politics, a very large proportion of politicians are psychopaths or very close to psychopaths. And such people do not understand other people, including other psychopaths. They don't see the best way to deal with them. The best way to deal with a psychopath is to say F you and do whatever you want. And also, you can use their way of thinking against them. So they have this way of thinking of, if I do it first, then it's a rule. or I say it first. For example, this is my limit of what you are allowed to do. You can use it against them to do the same thing. This is our limit. If you do that, then we will do that. And you can say, for example, very simple, you have 30 days to leave Ukraine, otherwise we will destroy your army within Ukraine. You can do that. But these idiot politicians, and there's just about no really good politician, maybe Macron, he seems fairly intelligent and says good things. But most of them are complete and utter morons. And military analysts as well, of course. This guy, what was it, a week or 2 weeks ago at the Times Radio, Sean Bell, whatever, saying that Russia was winning. They're making a little bit of progress in the area in northeastern, which is Sumy region, etc. That does not mean they're winning. Huge losses of equipment and men for a little bit of region of land is not winning. That is losing, you fucking idiot. Because it's not sustainable. This moron also said a few months ago that in 10 years Russia would be formidable again. No, they effing won't. You can see how incompetent they are. What was one of the first comments at the start of the war that really went around? That one Ukrainian soldier said, "We are lucky that the enemy is so effing stupid." Something like that. And that is correct. They're morons. They've become a little bit better, but that is not going to change in 10 years. That will take much more time. That this idiot doesn't understand such things. And the other problem, of course, is that they can't replenish what they lost. They can't build it with the same quality, like optics. For the tanks, I think they used all the self-sufficiency that Russia already claimed in 2014 about Crimea, because everything there was there were sanctions there for everything. The companies could not invest, for example. Could still invest in Russia, but not there. Yeah, we're going to be self-sufficient a year later or 2 years later. Hear the same story. Absolute nonsense. They were never changing anything. They were idiots. And then some people say don't underestimate people or Russia. I don't underestimate anything or anyone. I can properly analyze. I mentioned one guy before with a channel called Military History Visualized and Not Visualized, who talked about the Panzerhaubitze 2000. I said, send a whole bunch of them to Ukraine. They need it. No, then Germany does not have enough for self-defense. Yeah, from what? From whom? Jesus Christ. That's only for a land attack. Who's going to attack for our land? The Netherlands? Austria? Maybe Serbia. I mentioned it before in the video. Everything else is going to be air. These so-called analysts are complete and utter morons. They're so stupid, it's almost unbelievable that anyone listens to these idiots. The only one who's okay is Ben Hodges. But most are complete morons. And this moron from Visual History, Visualized, whatever, So an Austrian guy who speaks unbelievably badly pronounced English. That is what was so surprising to me. That someone whose native language is German speaks so badly, pronounces so badly. But anyway, that's a sick sign to his personality, which means not actually being good, being thorough, being accurate. In any case, he asks, yeah, what are your qualifications in analysis? You know what my qualifications in analysis are? Using my brain for my entire life. So of course in the USA you have this crazy situation of a narcissist Trump with someone who flows with all winds, like a flag, as we call it in the Netherlands. Jimmy Dunn's fans. And I saw that guy in one video a little bit sitting behind Trump, head bobbing, and I thought, oh, he looks like a Thunderbird puppet. Like it's an old TV series, you can find it on YouTube. And then I thought, yeah, but there's a big difference. The Thunderbird puppets are smarter. What a moron. Jesus Christ. I read a comment somewhere that he's supposedly intelligent and that makes what he does and says worse. He's not intelligent. He's a moron. And just like Trump claims he has an IQ of 160, no effing way. I don't believe it. He just makes up stuff all the time. The only thing I liked the first time he was president was that he actually did things that he promised he would do. Because politicians almost never do what they promise. That's the only thing good. Further, what he did with Iran already then was very dangerous. He is a complete idiot. He does a few things that are good, but a lot that is extremely stupid. And Vance, that's like a retard. A wannabe. It's a zero. I think it would have been better for Ukraine, so they played along with Trump. I thought from the start already it would be a waste of time. And then things changed and some comments here and there, but still no strong criticism of Putin and Russia by Trump. Yeah, maybe they will get something out of it. But every time it goes back to my original estimation that it's all a waste of time dealing with these people. I think Ukraine should have quit any talks with the USA. And then that would have forced also Europe to stand with Ukraine stronger and take some actual action instead of delaying and talking, blah blah blah. Do something. Yeah, you can look up professions in which psychopaths are really prominent. One of them is being a surgeon, for example. And I saw that also in one meeting with some doctors, discussing some issue. And I saw one of them at the rear, and I thought, that's a psychopath. psychiatry. And psychology, you also find them. These people should have been sorted out to be not allowed to continue because it's not useful for anyone. They're wasting everyone's time, these people. Or that woman Patrick Cagnier, who was he's a psychologist, or was such an unbelievably simple thinker, this woman. Emotional intelligence, I would say like a 4-year-old child. It's a complete waste of time. Psychologists in general are a waste of time. So I have a relative who knows some people who went to psychologists. I've interacted with psychologists as well, but not for any problems I have. I have no problems. But for other reasons. Such as one of them was, well, as I mentioned, a psychologist who was doing judging or the hiring of people in C++ programming. She said, yeah, I'm the expert of C++ programming here. And I thought to myself, what the hell do you know about programming? Of course, nothing. And there were also things that I told her, it's as if I told her something really new and unusual about what is important in life. It's crazy. So this relative knows some people who went to psychologists. She asked one of them who had been with psychologists a long time. She doesn't know what she likes to do in life. She's not happy, blah blah blah. Just do something that you like. Find it. I've always done that. Come on. She admitted that all the visits to these psychologists were not useful at all. This relative also had interactions with psychologists for example, same as I, jobs, things like that. And she saw the same thing as I, that these people are incompetent and you can easily steer them as well. I mean, steer them towards getting a certain view that you created of yourself or a situation. Okay, maybe this was interesting. That's it for now. Bye.